Today, my teacher hopefully make you understand periodization, break down the reasons why. If you understand the theory behind it or some ideas behind it, trying to get into training, this is kind of the basic principles you understand because this is the thing that changes your body. In this video, we're going to cover some things. So we're going to cover why the reason progress stays the same. Why do we need to structure things? What is periodization? Essentially, is just a fancy word for structure. Different rep ranges give different adaptations and why it's important to understand it and how to apply it to someone who does 3 to 4 workouts a week. Honestly, you don't need more than 3 to 4 workouts a week. Most people would get by with plenty. With that, dive right into it. So the first part is linear periodization. Training with intensity gradually increases while the reps decrease. So for example, this is a chart and I'm going to kind of give you a visual interpretation of what it essentially means. And then we'll talk about how to practically apply it and why it matters for you specifically. So essentially linear periodization is linear. It means that hopefully every single week you're able to progress. So if the intensity is able to increase but the reps decrease, you're able to basically get stronger. So this is an example of linear progression where week 1 you'll start with 3 times 10 at 100 kilos, bicep curls clearly. It'll go down 1 rep, so our reps will go down. The intensity, the weight has gone up, so that's the intensity, and that has caused us to get more stimulus, more growth, and more adaptation. Essentially, walk into the gym and add 2.5 kilos every single week is what everyone tells you when you start. A lot of beginners, a lot of newbie beginners, a lot of people who haven't done strength training, whether in your 20s, 30s, or 40s, will adapt and have will have a lot of progress with linear periodization. You can essentially walk in every single week and add 5-10 pounds, 2 to 5 kilos basically every single week for probably the first, like, I'll say half a year, because there's so many mechanical adaptations. You're learning the skills, your ligaments, your body's getting stronger through the exercises, that really it's a combination of everything. You're putting on muscle, you're learning the movement pattern, your skills are getting better, and your body is essentially just learning the skill. And you're able to sometimes, add 50 kilos on some exercises, which is absolutely insane because the rate of progression slows down so much more as you get into maturity of lifting, as you become an intermediate and an advanced lifter. Someone who's an advanced lifter might work all year just to put on 2 kilos to their lift, and that is okay. So in a nutshell, basically that is linear periodization. It works for a lot of us, and it's the basic principle of coaching we use it, and it's one of the forms of coaching that a lot of people use. A lot of great programs are built on that, same in the strength world, that people use, and if it works, don't change it, is my point. Now, the next one is double progression. Essentially what it means is instead of changing exercises or programs, the easiest way to progress is something called a double progression, right? So we increase the reps by 1 and the amount of sets stays the same, essentially. There are a couple limiting factors to this. So before I get into that part here, I'm going to kind of give you a visual representation of what double progression looks like. So if we take this exercise, for example, where we spread it over 8 weeks, you'll have the same load and you'll try and increase 1 rep on that exercise, so 3 by 8, 3 by 9, etc., until you hit 12. Once you hit the 12, and the reason we stick to this 8 to 12 range, this is the hypertrophy specific rep range. If you're looking to build strength, you'll be sticking to around the 6 and lower reps, and if you're looking at 12 reps plus the 20, you're doing more endurance training. However, there's plenty of science to support that you will build muscle through all the rep ranges. You'll build strength through all the rep ranges, as well as hypertrophy and endurance. Some rep and set ranges are much more efficient and optimal for building muscle than others, and we recommend the 8 to 12 rep range. Pushing to near failure, focusing on progressive overload, and around 1, maybe 2 reps in reserve on your last sets. So once you've done your first 4 weeks of double progression, you will increase the load depending if it's lower or upper body. That might be 5%, that might be 2 to 5% on the upper body, or 5% on the lower body. Bigger exercises, think leg press, squats, things like that, whilst chest press might be 2.5%. You'll then go back to the 8 rep range and you'll work on the 8 rep range until you get strong enough where you can do 9, 10, etc., and repeat the same cycle. And that is double progression. Double progression is actually a very good way to break through a lot of plateaus and generally works for a lot more people better, because progress is never linear, because we have so many other factors to account for, like life, stress, jobs, family, and responsibilities outside the gym, because most of us shouldn't care about this stuff enough and we don't really need to focus about it, but understanding the theory behind it is good. Body will stay the same if you do not change anything. Now, that doesn't mean that if you stick to the same workout for the next 6 months, your body will not change. It will adapt. However, you also have to remember that you are fighting aging. You are getting older. You are sitting more properly than ever before. So even though you are maintaining, therefore it is important for us to always be pushing and striving to achieve a little bit more. The body likes to become efficient at using the same repeated loads. Therefore, the adaptation and the stimulus is no longer the same. So 6 months into the training at the same weight will not produce the same amount of effort. Therefore, you probably burn less calories and the effort of that workout will be significantly lower on the metabolic system. Strength gains also like to slow down when the stimulus is not present. So you always have to be challenging your body. You know, you heard the saying, use it or you lose it. This is important. And the last part, variation or progression, reintroduce the stimulus, which is important because your body, like I said, adapts to it and your body needs a new stimulus. Now, that doesn't mean change the exercise outright. It just means add one extra rep, push a little bit harder, and that usually isn't. Some of us who are practically busy, like I said, do not have the time to stress about things and do not have the time to worry about the progression. These are important. Increasing the weight too aggressively. Just because you have one good week doesn't mean you can take a 10 or 20% jump. The recommendations of 2 to 5% or 10% for the lower body are there for a reason. But be realistic because you want to make sure other factors of your life are lined up: sleep, recovery, nutrition, stress, etc. Changing exercises too frequently. You do not need to change exercises so often to actually progress. You can get really far with the same exercises for a long time because you can just increase the load, decrease the pauses, maybe change the small variations. So take your Bulgarian lunge, change it from a dumbbell variation to a Smith machine variation. You're doing the exact same movement, but the load is changed and you're still getting the same stimulus, but a totally different progression. Tracking the reps or load. This is an important part, and this is why we coach people. And when we coach, I get all my clients to report, track, and hit the reps they're supposed to do and have a log. And that is how most people make progress because they're actually tracking. Staying in the same reps is a big argument that people make because they say they want to tone or stay the same. Like I mentioned earlier, your body will adapt to the same stimulus and the same reps will no longer carry the same effect. Therefore, you're actually doing a lot less work for your body, even though you're repeating the same cycle. So on that note, I hope you understand linear and double progression a little bit more, why we use it in training, and I'll catch you in the next one. Don't forget to hit the like and subscribe and check out the links in the description for more.